Everybody, it's Anthony Brogdon. Oh man, I'm super excited to have the guy on the channel today. He's a good-looking guy. Oh, you gonna be excited about what we got going on here at Strong Inspirations. Let me tell you something. I'm so excited this guy's come on the channel. I don't know what to do. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's a pillar of his community, coming out of Africa in America, making it happen here in America, sharing his knowledge and keeping what he knows flowing through the community. Watch out, I don't play with you, my friends. Not at all. Did you see the video I did with the lady out of, she's actually out of London? In grade school, in high school, she was in an exchange program and went from a white neighborhood in London to Clarksdale, Mississippi. I asked her, I said, was you scared when she got there? She said, I didn't know to be afraid. And I'm a black belt. But she felt it as soon as she landed in town, that we on that side and they on that side. Watch that video. I'm gonna stay on that same note. I got a video, a lady, she's a professor out of Georgetown, I believe. Her family moved to Liberia when it was that Back to Africa movement, stayed in Liberia. They ended up leaving Liberia and going over to Sierra Leone, where she spent most of her years. And her dad, you know, heavyweight guy, I guess in his own right, they were traveling back and forth to America. And she lives here now. You got to hear that story. Watch that video. I'm gonna stay on this note. Did you see the video I did with the guy out of Cameroon, Africa? This guy is so proficient in history that he has studied where the slaves went from his region, Cameroon, throughout the diaspora, meaning the Caribbean, Brazil, and here to America. He says this is where that tribe went, this is where that tribe went. It's incredible. Watch that video. Did you see the one I did with the guy out of South Africa? He says he's what they call colored. Fair complected dude. He said that he lived through apartheid. And trust me, in all practical purposes, apartheid was nothing more than Jim Crow here in America. We thought it was different. Same concept. And we over here talking about we hate them for what they doing. Well, did we ever say that about us? Just a thought. Watch that video. And I got them from all over. How about one more for you, my friend? Did you see the video I did with the lady out of Ireland? She said they were prejudiced against in Europe. We don't want no blacks and we don't want no Irish. Watch that video. And let me tell you something, on Strong Inspirations, I give it to you straight, no chaser. I do not play with you. For the time that you watch me, I'm gonna hit you hard. Not me, my guest. And I'm gonna just do my best to ask some intelligent questions. So hit the subscribe button on Strong Inspirations. It's free, it don't cost no money, it don't ask no questions. It really just let me know you like me. And I like you already because I can feel you watching me. So do that, my friend. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on this video. You're gonna be very impressed with this young man. Hit the notifications bell for when the videos come up. You get a ding or something like that, oh, there's more information, new information on Strong Inspirations. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't wanna have defined what time I put them out because it hit my heart. And that's when I do it. And then tell somebody about us. You can copy the link to the videos and share them on your social media. You can, when you at the barbershop, just say, hey, brothers, y'all need to check out Strong Inspirations on YouTube. Because when you type in Strong Inspirations on YouTube, we are what comes up. Let it flow. Because I'm here to intoxicate your mind with this good Black history. Watch this man here, what he say. Listen to him. All right. And so a couple more things. You know, I am a filmmaker, everybody. I did this documentary on the rise of Black business in America. How about this? Did you know that there were slaves who owned businesses? I named them in my movie, and I tell you how wealthy they got. I'm not trying to debunk no theories, but trust me, Madam C.J. Walker, there were other rich Black women before her. She was not the first rich Black woman. You might say millionaire, that could be, but not rich. And I'm talking about very wealthy. I name them in my documentary. It is streaming on Amazon. Just type in Business in the Black, Anthony Brogdon, and boom, there you go. You can watch it. Please do that. And if you are a reader and you read books, I got the book for you. It's like the movie, but more thorough, more facts. I cover more. You got to get you a copy of this. This is the #1 Black business book on the market because there is no other as thorough as my book. That I guarantee. And I guarantee so much, and I'm so confident, you get a copy of my book, and if you don't learn nothing new, I'll give you your money back. Boom shakalaka, my friends, a book with a money back guarantee. Here it is. First of its kind, because it's the #1 book. So get you a copy of Black Business Book. All this and more is on my website, businessintheblack.net. Go there. All right. Now you hear me use this term strong a lot. Strong is my favorite word. It's the name of the show, Strong Inspirations. Strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And that is my introduction to my guest today. He's a strong soul, brother. Watch. I'm gonna have him, I'm gonna just ask him some questions and we're gonna go with this one. You're gonna like what he got to say. So come on, introduce yourself. Thank you for being on Strong Inspirations.
Sure, thank you, Anthony. I feel inspired already just listening to you here.
There you go.
But my name is Amadou Masali, and I am from Sierra Leone. Hello, everyone, wherever in the world you may be watching from. We founded a company called Fam Boutique, which means family tree in our local language, local Creole, which is very similar to Gullah. And we keep connections going between African Americans and Sierra Leoneans particularly, but Africans in general. And our links between Sierra Leoneans and African Americans can be found in the history, culture, and the language, and including DNA tests. You know, many of these people who take their DNA tests points to Sierra Leonean ancestry.
I love
now,
it.
Our organization has been around since 1986 when we started. And it was the DNA thing that really led me to start exploring deeper with our work. Now, there are two different kinds of Africans that identify to Africa directly. One group is that of the DNAs, the people who take their DNA, and the others are those who are based on historical and cultural connections.
I love it.
Sort of in between those two groups of people, because they are DNA Sierra Leoneans, and then there are Gullah Geechees, who we know through history, historical evidence, that many of them came from my country, Sierra Leone.
Okay, let me stop you there. I don't mean no disrespect, but let me go back here just a tad. We're gonna stay on, we're gonna follow up on that in depth.
Sure.
But I want to ask you about yourself. First of all, you grew up in Sierra Leone. In what city?
In Freetown, which is the capital city of Sierra Leone.
Okay.
And it was a place where about, I don't know, almost 1,200 African Americans moved back to in 1792. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get, okay, let me say this. Okay, now, how big is Sierra Leone as a country? And
It's
where is it
small.
located in Africa?
It's on the west coast of Africa, borders with the Atlantic Ocean. So I can swim from my country to the US.
Okay.
We no piece of land between in the waters, the Atlantic Ocean. And yeah, what was your question again? Sorry.
Let me ask you this. Is it a beautiful country?
Absolutely.
Got hills and the ocean front, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. Very beautiful, has hills and white sand beaches, man.
Okay.
Yes, we're on the coast. My country borders with the Atlantic Ocean on the west side.
What does downtown look like?
It has buildings and stores and offices.
Yeah.
It's not like Detroit, Michigan, but it's a city that people work, their businesses there, government works there. Okay. And it's a bustling city though. Too many people.
Okay.
Too many people.
What's the main industry out of Sierra Leone?
The main industry, perhaps agriculture. Agriculture contributes more to our GDP than anything else in the country, about 45 to 50%. I don't know what it is in recent times, but historically it has been contributing half to our GDP. We also have minerals. We have diamonds, gold, iron ore, bauxite, rutile. We have about 11 or 12 of the 16 identified minerals in the world. So we are rich in natural resources, but we're a poor country due to bad governance and corruption and whatever else.
Okay, let me ask you this. So growing up, did you ever try to go somewhere to find a diamond? I mean, just in the ground or something?
People
or you
do.
Dig too deep, or how does that go?
People do. There's people that found diamonds in their backyards in Sierra Leone. But you have to be living in a particular area where diamonds are. I mean, it's not an easy feat to accomplish, but I've known, for example, not too long ago, a pastor found a diamond in his compound. And they were able to sell it for a few millions in Belgium. I mean, I don't know the true story, but the pastor found it and he handed it over to the government of Sierra Leone. I don't know why he did that, but I guess he could or should have. And the government took it from him and they sold it and they give the pastor a portion of it, just from his backyard. But there are also conscious mining efforts in the diamond areas where people have been mining diamonds for eons. It has its pros and cons.
How do you mine diamonds? Just a little short story. They're underground.
Well, there are two kinds. There are two ways to do it. I mean, I'm not a diamond mining guy, but I know they have what you call kimberlite mining, which means they go deeper, and they have artisanal mining, where just ordinary guys, they find their pits, they dig, and they wash. They have a way to do it. They wash the dirt, and they keep on digging and washing the dirt. And if there's a diamond there, you see it, they pick them up from the dirt.
Really?
So that's how they do it.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. How did your father and your grandfather, are they from Sierra Leone? And what's your lineage in your family?
Well, that's an interesting question because Sierra Leone itself can go as far as in the 1400s, what we remember. And then in the 1500s, there was an invasion from Timbuktu, Mane invasion. And thousands of people walked from Mali coming towards the coast and ended up in Sierra Leone. And they brought in different ethnic groups. So Sierra Leone had about maybe 2 or 3 tribal groups before this Mane invasion happened in the 1500s. And different tribes or ethnic groups came into Sierra Leone from Mali.
Okay.
The Mande people, they call them. Today, we have about 17 to 18 tribes or ethnic groups, if you will. Okay. And but that happened over years. Okay. There is one group that is believed to be the most original of Sierra Leoneans, and they still have their descendants there in Sierra Leone today. They are called the Bulom people or Shabro people. See, Shabro, the name Shabro came from a queen. One of the people who came from Mali with all these groups was a woman named Sebora,
Okay.
Queen Sebora.
Okay.
So from Queen Sebora, the name Shabro evolved as one of the original people in our country. So there's a book called The Upper Guinea Coast by, what's the guy's name? Walter Rodney.
Okay.
Wrote a book called The Upper Guinea Coast, and it talks about 6 countries that was known as the Rice Coast by plantation owners in South Carolina and Georgia. And I'll tell you those countries quickly, just in case someone is interested.
Sure.
Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Gambia, Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia.
Okay. Okay.
So these 6 countries have been growing rice for eons, the people from these countries.
Okay.
And once the man found out that in Africa, there are people who have been growing rice for years, they started buying us, enslaved Africans from the rice coast.
Yeah.
But it's something I plan on talking about later, but since you asked me this question.
I want to definitely talk. Let me ask you this. So now what tribe are you a part of?
Well, I'm Soso, the Soso people of Sierra Leone. In fact, they were slave traders. Them and the Fullers were the ones who were responsible for selling Africans. They were Africans themselves, but of course, the transatlantic slave trade happened in the interior. That's why it started. Well, the enslavement of people. But these were done by other Blacks, right? So a Black man would enslave another Black man or woman, bring them down to the coast and sell them off to white ship captains.
And your tribe did that?
Yes.
Do they apologize for that?
I do. I do. I mean, I think that that is one of the problems with the way we are today, because I don't think that what African country did it once. I think we need to do an apology for the transatlantic slave trade. We have not confronted the legacies of the transatlantic slave trade as a nation, Sierra Leone. And I think that's true for all other African countries that, shipped enslaved people to the Americas.
Okay.
Now,
I love it.
I don't know if you know this, but with the slave trade, only 4% of the people taken from Africa, only 4% made it to America. They went everywhere else in the Americas, particularly sugar plantations. See, they couldn't grow sugar in America, so too many people didn't come to America as slaves. In fact, it started coming later, after the slave, the sugar plantation stuff was kicking off in the Caribbean. In the United States, we couldn't grow sugar here. Well, it was the colonies of North America, not American colonies then. They couldn't grow sugar here because we needed, or they needed, the climate was not conducive to grow sugar. It wasn't tropical. But later on, these plantation owners realized that rice could grow well in the semi-tropical conditions in the low country,
right,
which includes South Carolina and Georgia, some parts of North Carolina and Florida. Right. So once they found out that rice could grow well here and sugar couldn't, they also wanted to participate in the global trade. I mean, there was a lot of money being made. Sugar, in fact, is the single most important reason for the transatlantic slave trade.
Really?
Because they needed people to grow sugarcane and make sugar from sugarcane.
Okay, let me stop you there. We're going. I want to stay on your family just a little bit more in this regard. When you were growing up, did you? Well, hold on. Let me before I ask that question. What did your father do and your grandfather do for a living?
Okay. Well, of course, I have 2 grandfathers, right? One on the dad side, one on the mom side.
Yeah.
My grandfather was a rice farmer. Yeah. This is my dad's dad was a rice farmer. My dad's dad was a rice farmer. My dad was a medical doctor as trade. And on my mother's side, my grandfather was a member of parliament and became the first minister of I think it was of education, or maybe he became education minister later,
Oh,
but he was a
really?
minister of the first cabinet in our country. So I grew up,
Middle
having
class? Middle class?
kinda, yes, there
You
you
say
go.
middle class?
I would say, well, we don't have a middle class necessarily in Sierra Leone. We have two classes. I mean, the bourgeoisie and the peasants kind of. There is some middle class, but it's not strong. So,
Okay.
I mean, where I grew up, I guess you could call it middle class, but it was like a upper middle
Upper middle
class.
class. Okay.
Yeah, how I grew
Let,
up.
so what did that mean? You went to private school, you lived in
I
a
did.
certain neighborhood that had bigger
Yes,
houses, that kind of thing?
yes, yes. Whilst I had friends who were in homes that were built with zinc, the kind of zinc we used to put on our roofs.
Yeah.
They'll build a whole house with that and just pieces of wood. These were my friends. Not all of them. There were other friends that had homes like me. It all depends on, what you're doing in your life. Was your dad educated and have a professional job?
Yes.
Or there were some military dads who had a lot of money. For example, if you're a diamond digger, you don't necessarily have to go to school to be wealthy, right? Because you have diamonds that you can sell and make money. So we have folks like that. In other words, education doesn't necessarily guarantee wealth,
Right.
and vice versa. Uneducated, you can still be
Did you
wealthy.
see white people growing up?
Yeah, a few. They were all expatriates, and that's an important question you raised, because I had never experienced the taste of slavery knowingly, or prejudice rather, knowingly, till I got to the United States. Now, in Sierra Leone, we do have some Lebanese people that came from Lebanon. They're white, and we had friends. Now, there was some discrimination between the Lebanese and us indigenes of Sierra Leone. However, I couldn't figure it out. I mean, to me, I didn't understand prejudice and racism until I went to Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
even among brothers there at Morehouse, I
Yeah.
got to understand that light-skinned brothers were, thinking
Yeah.
that they were better
Yeah.
off than black. I didn't know none of that coming from Africa at that
I
time.
bet. Let me ask you, did you ever have a fight with another guy for some reason? Did you play sports, soccer, any of that kind of
Yes,
thing?
I got in many fights. One of my most memorable fights, and I got beaten bad too. But it was my at my primary school, and my aunt taught at the school. So I lost the fight. I got punished by my aunt at school for fighting. When my aunt got home, she told my mom I got punished again. So
Right.
it was 3 strikes for me. I lost the fight.
Right.
My aunt punished me. My mom. Yes.
Right. So just a couple more questions. So
Sure.
was it a good education up through high school and that kind of thing? It prepared
I think so, because when I got to Morehouse College, I could hold my own, coming from a small country in Africa. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I thought education was easy here because it was all multiple choice questions. That's what I thought at first. It was all kind of multiple choice questions. If you know this material, you can get your answer.
Right.
In Africa, in high school, I used to sit there and calculate stuff if it was in math or physics. I had to write essays in high school. So it wasn't the multiple choice. I didn't take multiple choice exams until I got to the United States.
Oh, I love it. And the reason why I ask that is because sometimes we might think that your education isn't at a par to America. We just think America is the greatest. That's not necessarily the case.
Not necessarily true. I mean, there are some statistics also. If you look at, for example, some of the most educated Black people in America are Africans. There's statistics out there that speak to that.
That's right.
However, we don't have schools like Harvard or MIT, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These are world-class universities here in America that we don't have over there.
Yeah.
I think it's something that has to do with mindset. Many Africans, when they come here, they know that they are on a mission, right? Get
Yeah.
educated and try to go back home. Many of us don't return. I've been living here since 1983. I moved home for 5 years at one time when I worked for the government, and then I returned to Dallas, Texas, where I am now.
Yeah. Let me one more question on this. Everybody that I've talked to, pretty much out of other countries except for maybe South Africa, have said that there's corruption in the government. Is that the case throughout all of Africa that you can imagine that all the countries have that? You cited that even in yours.
Yeah.
What is that?
In Sierra Leone. Yeah,
we have
even right now we are in bad shape with regards to governance and corruption. Between the guys before them and the guys before, there's always been corruption.
Yeah.
And all these natural resources I talked about earlier, I mean, we don't get much benefits from them because politicians steal and the people suffer.
Oh my God. Let me ask you this. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say right now, a gallon of fuel is about $7 to $8, if not $9. In Sierra Leone, 1 gallon of fuel because of all the Ukraine and Russia stuff.
Wow.
For some reason, we have the highest fuel at the pump in the world today, or one of.
Now, let me ask you, who is a noted figure in Sierra Leone that you all look at like, I don't know, I'm gonna just say like a Martin Luther King, a political guy that helped the little people come along? Is there somebody like that?
Not that I know of. Maybe in the past, before I was born, there could be such a person, because I do remember some of the guys, the formerly enslaved people who returned to Sierra Leone. I know one of them, for example, changed his name from his English name that they had given him. He adopted an African name. And he was very instrumental. He tried to tell these other African Americans, Black loyalists that came to Sierra Leone, that we cannot act that we are better off than the Indigenes of this country. So he used to wear African attire. He wouldn't wear the suits and tie like the other guys. He would wear African attire. Like I said, he changed his name and he tried to be African in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you learn Black history growing up?
No, I was learning history about Carthage and Rome and Troy. Yeah, we didn't. I didn't know that I was related to African Americans till I got to America. No one ever told me that Africans were taken from my country and brought here as enslaved people to work on rice plantations. No one told me that in my country. I mean, I guess it was hidden. It was a white guy, a man named Joseph Upala, who went to Sierra Leone as a Peace Corps volunteer. You know, I'm not sure you're familiar with the Peace Corps services.
Yeah, sure.
That started studying these links. We didn't get to know about these links until the 1970s, late 1970s, early 1980s. That's when we found the Sierra Leone Gullah connection, which is what I do now for the most part, telling our story and taking people home.
So growing up, did you know the history of Sierra Leone in any regard?
I knew some. For example, I did a class called government. So in government, we learned about some of Sierra Leone's history. And what I mean by that is about the evolution of how we became a modern country, if you will, because the Brits first sent a group of formerly enslaved people from the UK, about 500 of them in 1787, to Sierra Leone. Now, when those people, Black loyalists, you may have heard of them, who fought alongside King George III against the Americans, right?
Okay.
When they lost the fight, about 3,000 of those Black people, because the Brits had said to them, they made a proclamation, if any of you guys join our army, you'll be freed people. We'll free you. You become free.
Right.
So after the Brits lost the American War of Revolution, There were 3,000 Black loyalists, including their families, 3,000 that were taken up to Halifax, Nova Scotia.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I think it was in 1773.
Right.
Shortly after that, about 8 to 9 years, because Canada was cold. Halifax was cold. There was a place called Shelburne. I've been to these places too. Cold and barren land. So some of these Africans, one of them went to England and heard that the Brits had sent some 500 Black people to Africa. So his name was Thomas Peters. So he goes to England and finds that out. He arranges with the Brits and comes back to Canada. A white guy came with him or shortly after him, and they started recruiting people who would be interested to go to Africa.
Oh.
So in 1792, about 13 ships left Halifax, Nova Scotia, and then in a couple of months, were landed in Sierra Leone. So this was the second group of people coming back to Sierra Leone as freed slaves or freed formerly enslaved people. See, you have to be careful how you use the word slave these days, right?
Yeah.
Correct this. So that's how African Americans, some of them were Gullahs, about 25% of them were Gullahs, ended up in Sierra Leone. Here's a story. There were a few people there. One of them was John Kizell, who was born in Sierra Leone, was taken into slavery at age 13. In Charleston, South Carolina, he was bought by a German woman who owned a tavern. While there, he taught himself how to read and write English, John Kizell. And then he fought alongside the Brits. So he ran away from his slave master, that woman, fought alongside the Brits. The Brits lost the war. He was taken to Nova Scotia. 8-9 years later, he went back home to Sierra Leone. And this guy's story is unique, right? Because he's the one guy who was able, because he taught himself how to read and write at the tavern in Charleston, South Carolina. So he was able to document this transatlantic slave trade from the eyes of a Black person. I mean, many times when you hear these stories, history, it wasn't told or written by a Black man.
Sure.
But this is one guy who not only was his story written, I mean, his experiences in South Carolina, his experiences in the war. He was caught at one time by the Americans. But that's a different, I mean, it's a long story. But the point I'm trying to make is that one of them was born in Sierra Leone and he returned to Sierra Leone. Oh. There are about 6 or 7 of them like that. There was a woman who was born in Sierra Leone. He also returned to Sierra Leone. She also returned to Sierra Leone, but guess what? She died shortly after getting back home.
Yeah.
But there were also, many of those guys came from other parts of Africa. They were not necessarily Sierra Leoneans.
Sure.
That came back, yeah.
So now let's go to the Gullah Geechee concept.
Yes.
Would you say you are Gullah Geechee, or you can only be Gullah Geechee?
Self-acclaimed. This is what I tell people. I am the first Sierra Leonean Gullah Geechee man. I have been doing Gullah Geechee work now since 2006. From the very first time I went down there, I went down there in a funny way. I was going to go watch a sneak preview of African American Lives done by Skip Gates. This is when the Skip Gates, I think he spoke to Oprah, Chris Tucker, these guys were all in that film. So anyway, so I went to see the sneak preview before the film came out. And whilst I was there, because I had learned about the Gullahs from living in Atlanta, Georgia, I've learned about them. Mayor Andrew Young had taken a DNA test. He was one of the first guys. This was I think it was in 1984 or 86. And that DNA test pointed to Sierra Leonean ancestry. Mayor Ambassador Andrew Young, his family, they're Sierra Leonean descendants, right? So I knew that. So when I went and watched the sneak preview, I was so excited. I asked the guys that are working there, some Black guys who were working at the hotel where we stayed. And I asked them, I said, hey man, are you Gullahs? They were offended by it somewhat. I could tell by their response, but I didn't know why. And he goes, no, man, there was 2 of them. Those people down by the coast. Make a long story short, the next day, I was on my way 4 hours drive from Columbia, South Carolina to Hilton Head Island, where I met my first Gullah man that I consciously met and that as a Gullah. His name is Dr. Emery Campbell. And the reason we met him first, because we were going to do a Gullah tour on Hilton Head Island. And his family had a tour company. Now, the guy we met, Emery Campbell, had gone to Sierra Leone in 1989. I didn't even know this. He had gone to Sierra Leone in 1989 when 13 Gullah Geechee leaders from South Carolina, from Georgia, from North Carolina, from Florida, and from Oklahoma. There are Gullahs in Oklahoma, known as Black Seminoles. That's another part of the story. I don't know how deep we're going to talk into today. But these things are all hanging there in terms of who the Gullahs are. So I met that guy, and he took me on a tour. His brother was doing the tour that day. He flagged him down at some intersection, and then 4 of us jumped on the bus, on the tour bus. And then, I hadn't been home in 23 years. So since I left to come to college in 1983, this was 2006. I hadn't gone home. So when I went to that beach, it was the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, where my people are. So I had this weird feeling that day. I guess I felt bad that I hadn't been home in 23 years.
Yeah, sure.
And then something moved in me that day that sort of inspired me to where we are now in terms of my work in the Gullah Geechee corridor. And people do know about the work I do now around there.
Let me ask you this. Do you have family, cousins or what have you, who've also come to America who might know Gullah Geechee? Or is Gullah Geechee, the people from Sierra Leone come to America and then they were the Gullah Geechees, or because of the rice?
Yeah, well, it's not just the people from Sierra Leone. Many Gullah Geechees believe they're all Sierra Leonean because of the kind of promotion that we have been doing in that area in terms of seeking our family people, right? That's what I do, my organization, Famultik, Family Tree. So many Gullahs believe that they are from Sierra Leone, but there are 6 countries that I mentioned earlier. These are the Rice Coast countries. You want me to say them again for our audience?
Yeah, go ahead,
Senegal, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. Those were the Rice Coast countries. However, people from Congo and Angola and other parts also came into the low country where Gullah Geechees exist today. So these Africans who coexisted from different countries, different ethnic groups or tribes, coexisted in the low country on these rice plantations, right? Now, here's something I want to throw at you very quickly. These white Americans used to make fun of the Gullah language, but what they don't know is that there were Africans in the way they speak. And Lorenzo Turner proved that later on. But why I bring it up is because these white Americans were making fun of Black people's speech, but what they don't realize is that Black people, or they were sort of thinking that they were dumb, they couldn't speak English properly, that's why they sound like they do. But here's a group of people that you didn't have the skill sets that they have, that you had to go to Africa to bring them here.
There you go, I got you.
You see what I'm saying?
I love
to
it.
Start the rice industry in this country. And what I tell people when I do my tours or when I do my talks is that rice was the first successful industry in this country. It was the rice economy that put America on a platform that she still enjoys today. I swear by that. So in other words,
before cotton.
Before cotton, yeah, it was rice. You can look at the history.
Yeah. Now, do you know how to cultivate rice? What does that mean?
You plant seeds and you let them grow. But there are 2 types of ways you can grow rice. In the swampy area, they call it lowlands rice or bolly lands. And in the upper area where there's less water. But these Africans had skills, the way how they would have water enter the rice farms, rice plantations. They use gates and shutters to shut and open, because there was a balance between the Atlantic Ocean and river water, right?
Okay.
In fact, in the Gullah country, they have Gullahs that are saltwater Geechee and what do they call it again? River Geechees. They have a term for it. I can't think of it right now.
Okay.
To make a distinction between where in Gullah country or this area down there in South Carolina you may be from. Some of the Gullahs live facing the ocean. Some live around the rivers.
Okay.
So to grow rice, you don't want salt water to get into your plantations. So when the tide rises, you have to close the gates. So salt water doesn't get in to your plantation. So these are all skills developed in Africa without them having to go to school to learn this. This is what the white Americans didn't have, but they needed to grow rice.
Yes,
so
I see.
They went looking for people from my country and those other rice coast countries to build America.
Rice comes brown rice, white rice. Are there other rice type forms?
Yeah, there are different types of rice, but I'm not a rice guy.
Yeah.
But there are different types of rice. We have what we call rough rice in Sierra Leone, for example. It's a local term, and it's kind of a brown rice, but it's not the traditional brown rice that we have here. So it's like brown and white.
Oh.
Yes, and it's very tasty.
And so rice is in Sierra Leone. That's a everyday staple, isn't it? I mean, y'all eat a lot of rice.
We eat rice 3 times a day, for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner.
Really?
Well, because it's affordable too. It's not as expensive, and rice can last long. In fact, that's why it was in such high demand. In England, especially, the rice that was grown here in America, most of it was shipped to Europe. And it was more for people who went to wars. Military people needed rice because rice could be kept for years, right? It doesn't go bad easily.
Okay.
And it's easy to transport, I guess.
Yeah.
But most importantly, it is the durability of the crop.
Let's switch gears just a tad in this regard. Did the people from the Gullah Geechee community, were they known to escape a lot?
Yeah, and many of them died doing that, but many of them succeeded getting into Spanish Florida. Okay. Florida was at one time owned by the Spaniards,
right?
And at one time, the Spanish king also made a proclamation to say, if any Black person or any enslaved person that makes it to our colony will be considered free.
Right.
So Black people in these plantations in South Carolina ended up in Florida. They took great risks, though. They had to walk, for example, from South Carolina to Florida through Georgia.
Right.
Some of them may have gone on boats, but also you have to understand that they were doing this at great risk to their lives, because if they were caught, they were either killed, to make an example, to the other Black people on the plantations, or they were severely beaten. But some of them made it to Florida, where they coexisted with Indians.
Right.
Different kinds of Indians, Chico, Chicato. They have about 4 different Indian groups, that were also running away from white guys.
Right.
Not because they were enslaving them per se, because the Indians were not necessarily, the natives were not necessarily enslaved people, but they were being forced off their land by these white guys, and they would run to Florida, the northern part of Florida around St. Augustine. And while there with the Blacks, they coexisted. They were referred to as Seminoles. Seminoles is not an Indian word. Seminoles is a Spanish word, in fact. And what it means is a runaway slave.
Right.
So they were Seminoles, or actually the original word was Cimarrons. Right. Cimarrons is what means a runaway slave. So they became Seminoles, Indian Seminoles. Seminoles was not a particular tribe within the Indian tribe. It was just a group of different tribes coming together as runaway people, Maroons, wild, and and then the Blacks came down there also. and they coexisted. But these Indians, I must tell you, they couldn't even grow their own food, so to speak, in that area. It was the Black folks that were already skillful at rice plantations that started rice cultivation to feed this community of Black Seminoles. All right. Some of them intermarried with Indians, and some of the Blacks had important military positions within the Seminole Nation. So you would have Indians and some Black people. One person that comes to mind, his name was Abraham. In the military. Now, the greatest thing about these Seminoles, especially the Black Seminoles, they outwit, outsmart, beat up on the US Army. They held them off for 6 years.
Right.
This is one of the greatest stories in American history. I may be biased.
Yes.
But the stories of the Black Seminoles, once it is fully appreciated, it will change the narrative on America's history.
Right, right.
It will.
Let me ask you this: what have you learned about, let's say, Seminole or Gullah, that since you've been here, that you did not know? I mean, I know you didn't know a lot of it coming from Sierra Leone, that you've discovered yourself that is a ha-ha moment for you.
Well, all the stuff that I delve in, people have been doing it before I arrived, right? They are historians. I'm not a historian. Yeah. I just bring history to life and try to make these connections, because behind these connections are opportunities for economic empowerment for Black people all over the world. Yes. So beyond the fanfare, like when we went to, we have a documentary film called Gullah Roots on YouTube, and you see what we do when how we do our trips. But it's a first step. Now, I have this one idea. You ever heard of groups like Irish Americans, Italian Americans?
Yeah.
Well, no Black country has been able to produce Ghanaian Americans, for example, or Nigerian Americans, or Sierra Leonean Americans. So for us, we've been doing this stuff now for years in terms of the connections. I think the next logical step would be to create such an organization that would advocate and lobby for Sierra Leonean interests. Or maybe it could be an African American type of outfit, but just like the Italian Americans, we have a right. Not only do we have a right, in my opinion, Black people have more rights to this country than Italian Americans or Irish Americans, because not only were we here first, but the contributions we've made to make America a great country. So that's where we headed. In fact, in December, there have been 4 homecoming trips to Sierra Leone. So we'll bring the first group from 1989. There was a group that went in 1997. This group, their link to Sierra Leone is based on a song. So a young girl that was taken from Sierra Leone used to sing this song in America. And up till today, there's a family in Harris Neck, Georgia, Townsend, Georgia, that has kept a song, which is the longest text of anything African, language, of the African language, preserved in America by a family of slavery origin. 5 lines, that song. So this family went in 1997, the Morans, then Harris Neck, Georgia. And then in 2005, Priscilla went home. Priscilla's story is based on a 10-year-old girl that was taken from Bonds Island, Sierra Leone in 1756 and sold into slavery in Charlestown. It was Charlestown then, before Charleston. And the guy who bought that 10-year-old girl in 1756 kept meticulous records of all their slaves. So this guy, a 7th generation descendant of Elias Ball, who had bought this girl in 1756, wrote a book called Slaves in the Family. His name is Edward Ball. It's a popular book. I mean, million-selling book. In this book, while he was writing this book, he traced all the slaves that were in their plantations. Luckily, they still had the records. Sherman didn't burn them down.
Yes.
So he was able to pick up the phone because he saw the links, and he called a couple of people. The second person he called was a guy named Mr. Martin, and he called him. So imagine a former, a descendant of a slave from the owner's plantation is now talking to the owner's great fifth great grandfather.
Right.
And they talked, and he told him the white guy told Mr. Martin what he was seeing.
Right.
And lo and behold, they made those links. But before the book could come out, Mr. Martin had passed away, transitioned.
Oh, okay.
But his daughter, Tomalyn Polite, my sister, who lives in Charleston, she's, I don't know, middle 30s. She's the only person in the world who can trace her ancestry to a particular person taken from Africa.
Wow.
The only person. When Skip Gates was told that, he didn't believe it because he was all saying, Skip Gates was saying, you know, we can't go beyond 18 whatever.
Right.
Records, right?
Right.
When they told him about Tomalyn Polite, he denied it. He said it's not possible.
Right.
But the records show clearly that this girl in 1756 was taken from Sierra Leone at around age 10. Who bought her? That record is there. The Bath records, plantation records. 4 times. It's like lightning struck in the same place 4 times.
I love it. I got you. Now, have you?
Yeah.
Could you go, or have you gone back to Africa to tell the stories that you know and educate the people there of what the history is? Are there people there now educating them on the history?
Yes, people do know about that now, more so than before. Than when I was growing up.
Yeah,
people know about this history now. I didn't tell you about the last trip. We took the largest group of African Americans on a heritage study tour to Africa. 54. We left in 2019. We spent 10 days in Sierra Leone, tour to Africa. Not only do you have to go to Sierra Leone, but you have to go with people who know what they're doing.
right.
And I say this because our story in Sierra Leone has 3 elements of the transatlantic slave trade. And that's what our tour was based on. So we show signs of slavery. There's a fort there called Bonds Island. Bonds Island is the single most important place for African Americans outside of America. Okay. Bonds Island.
I never heard of. I heard of Gorée Island.
Gorée Island is in Senegal. It's similar.
Yeah. Okay.
But Bonds Island has stronger connections, and I can prove this maybe in another show.
Yeah. Sure.
But the point I'm trying to make is that from Bonds Island, tens of thousands of people were brought to South Carolina, and then later Georgia. In fact, Lorenzo Turner, who was trying to dispute the fact that these Africans were dumb, that's why they couldn't speak English, recorded Gullah people speaking their local languages. Many of it was in my country's Mende, an ethnic group in Sierra Leone, Mende and Vai, another one, the words, the languages. In fact, Lorenzo Turner found that 3,000 loanwords in the Gullah language were from Sierra Leone.
Okay.
Names, hundreds of names. The Gullahs have what you call basket names, like their middle name.
Yeah.
So some Gullah would name Samuel Amadou Williams. So Samuel Williams, but his African name Amadou would be the basket name.
Oh.
There are Gullahs like that up till today.
Oh.
Basket names.
Yes.
So and the link between Sierra Leone and the Gullah Geechee is unique.
Yes,
it's unique. Is. I mean, there are other countries that have the same or similar links.
Yes.
But what some of the things I've just explained to you are the most fascinating stories of how African Americans can show that they have African ancestry.
Yeah, I love it. Let me ask you this: as we kind of come to a close, have you written a book or something like that?
Have I what?
Have you written a book?
No, not yet, but I need to. I need to tell them. And we're just talking Gullah now. I also do stuff in Jamaica, where Sierra Leoneans are also. I've been to Trinidad and Tobago, and discovered a Sierra Leone road. I did a little bit of research. I found that people from my country, Sierra Leone, were taken to Trinidad and Tobago, not during slavery, especially after when they were doing indentured servitude. Many people, 5,000 to 6,000 people were taken to Trinidad and Tobago after the emancipation of the slave trade to go and work on these plantations that now needed, work, but there were no more slaves.
Right.
So Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago used to compete in Sierra Leone, in my country, for these types of people.
Okay.
And there's a reason why that also, because Sierra Leone became a depot for the Brits. After they banned the transatlantic slave trade in 1807,
right.
Every ship that they would catch trying to sneak through the Atlantic Ocean and with enslaved Africans on board, they will capture the ship. This is the British Navy, and they will return them to Sierra Leone. So thousands of other Africans came into Sierra Leone, and today they're Sierra Leoneans, based on their lineage, the descendants. But they came from Congo, they came from Angola, and especially Nigeria. A lot of Yorubas ended up in Sierra Leone, and are now Sierra Leoneans today through this route. The ancestry was, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So now, give us the name of your company again, because you do tours.
I do tours, but I'm not a tour guy. Of course, we all want to make money, but I see a bigger picture in doing the work that we do, over and beyond just tours. We'll give you some of the most fascinating tours to Sierra Leone if you want to, based upon accurate history.
Yeah,
that's what we take pride in. But for me, there's more than just tours. I want to do some stuff in America to bring our people together. Like I tell you, economic empowerment is a bigger thing for me, and the opportunity is here. We just need to have the right institutional arrangements to make these things happen.
What do you have a website? How do I
do?
Yeah, what's your website? Let me plug you.
Yes, it's FAMBUL, Fambul, TIK, one word. Also F.
We're gonna put that in the description so people can follow. I'm gonna have you back on. I promise. I want to.
Sure, because
I know you got more to say.
I haven't even started, man. You haven't even started.
I can't imagine. I can't imagine. Let me ask you this: do you speak another language?
I do. I talk Creole. It's not the local language where they talk La Salon. It's very similar to Gullah. So when I talk Creole, some Gullah people can understand me. When people talk Gullah, I don't understand them. Okay, what did I just say? I speak Creole, which is broken English, and it's very similar to Gullah Geechee language. When Gullah speak, I understand it. I read the Gullah Bible. It's like I'm reading my own language. I get it. And I have never taken a formal course in Gullah studies or Gullah language. However, we're going to start that soon. Well, not me, but there's the professor, Joseph Opala, this Polish-American guy who I told you about earlier, and working with Dr. Emery Campbell, who's a Gullah guru and also a Gullah person. They are trying to do a course on the Gullah language where we can maintain this thing. I don't want to see it die, where we will survive here for over 250 years. We can't let it die now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so.
Now, to close us out, how would you say goodbye in Creole, or how would you say goodbye in Gullah, or some greeting or something? You're my brother or whatever. How would you do that?
In Creole, you will say goodbye, same way, goodbye. To say you're my brother, I will say, you na me brother. You na me brother. You are my brother. Yes. And if I want to ask you how you doing today in Creole, I would say, how you do today? Or how una they do today? If you want to say the same thing in Gullah, Gullahs will say, how una they do today?
I love it.
Very similar, just where, the phonetics are a little different, I guess.
Hey, everybody, I told you you're going to like this guy. Told you you're going to like this. It comes straight from the motherland to America And let me tell you, everybody, the guy is smart because he went to Morehouse. Morehouse is no joke. He went to Morehouse. He knocked it out the box in Morehouse. And he stayed in America to share these stories of life from his native land, to encourage the people to hear the culture as he's learned more that he didn't know from the motherland. They didn't tell him that. They're not going to say what we did. They just going to tell you, hey, look at the Romans and all that other stuff. So I tell you what to do, my friends. Hit the subscribe button on Strong Inspiration.
I will.
Hit the like button on this video. Yes. Hit the notifications bell for when the videos come up. You get a ding, you know. Tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. And to you, my brother, I say this, and I mean this with all sincerity. I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. I love what you're doing. I know, are your parents still alive? And so, but they know the great man you've become. They seen that though, right? They were around.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. And you have brothers and sisters and that kind of thing?
Yes.
In the US, they in America? Are they in Sierra Leone?
I have one here, 2 in Sierra Leone at the moment. Yes.
Okay. And all of them, I know they are proud of you. Everybody, watch this. I'm gonna put all this information in the description on the video. With that, I'll say bye. We out until I see you again. Thank you.
Ashe.
Yes.